a campaign held in the fourth largest country by population in the world, which is Indonesia, who also had an election in 2014. And the campaign was about this guy whose full name was Joko Widodo, but who's more popularly known as Jokowi. So we'll talk about him.
That's interesting.
Indonesia was under military dictatorship for most of the last 50 years of the last century. People who participate in the democratic process, they grew up under dictatorship. So there's been this reticence, and which still exists in the masses. Indonesians love social media, but they've been kind of conditioned not to share political views. Jokowi had emerged as a new age candidate who had risen purely on the basis of the work he did as in smaller political roles. He had the kind of public support where they were looking for a change and they were looking for a candidate like him. In fact, he also, because of his image as a common man's man, he had musicians. He was a known follower of loud music, as it's described by Indonesians. So you had local as well as international musicians openly showing support on social media, composing songs for him. That kind of stuff was happening. He seemed to be in pole position to get elected when the opposition pulled off a very well targeted and impactful smear campaign. So there is clearly doubt that is created, and it was felt by Jokowi's team, whose assessment was that they were losing momentum. Now, the overlying strategy that they kind of chose was to create something humorous and funny that people would find easy enough to associate with and show their support in that process. They took personal traits of their candidate and rolled it into their social media campaign. So the personal traits being, Jokowi likes to keep wear full sleeve shirts, but he likes to roll them up halfway. He had built this habit of walkabouts. So he would just set off somewhere, wherever he was campaigning, and just start walking and talking to common people. So the campaign team took these two elements and came up with a very smart concept. Then came up with a series of images, which was like some around 17 to 20 covers, which looked like Tintin comics. But instead of Tintin, they depict Jokowi and they depict scenes from things that really happened on those walkabouts. Now, the context that was needed for the people to get involved in exactly the manner that the team wanted. What happened was, once this was set out in social media, it was something which they didn't mind sharing and easy for anyone to download. So what happened was, your graphic artists, your musicians, merchandise people, they started downloading these images and started creating their own stuff from this. So it became a national phenomenon over a month, where anywhere you went, you saw a representation of the Jokowi Tintin comics. End result, apart from the success on social media, which is like lots of mentions, exposure, shares, etc., a lot of coverage by international as well as local mainstream media, the BBCs, the CNNs, the Fox Newses, etc. The most important impact was that Jokowi is today the president of Indonesia.
That's absolutely genius work. I mean, how brilliantly it's been executed. To know your audience so well that, they like me, but they are not in a position to openly talk about me. Understanding your product, its message, finding the right metaphor, and then, executing it so brilliantly, making it open source, getting people to freak out on it. It's just absolute genius work. I think as a social media professional, I would have been proud to have been behind this particular campaign. I mean, what a great story, Madhukar.